Good day, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the Night of the Walking Dead, a model written by Bill Slavicsek and published in 1992. This model is one of the first of a few that was released back in the day, pertaining to the campaign setting of Ravenloft, which is inspired or was inspired by the Ravenloft model of the 80s, written by Tracy and Laura Hickman, which has now been proved to be a classic. And this model and the next one, the House on Griffin Hill, provided a basis and inspiration for the whole line. It was not a very long-lived line, only a few years, and eventually when TSR got into trouble, this was quietly dropped. Every now and again, the Ravenloft model will appear in the various versions of Dungeons & Dragons, the 3rd edition, the 4th edition, and the 5th edition, and so on. Its popularity was quite high back in the day, because a lot of people bought these Ravenloft models. Now, the idea behind the campaign setting, and actually talk about in this model, is the playing characters are in the world, whatever campaign world the Dungeon Master has, be it Greyhawk, or the Forgotten Realms, Dragonlance, whichever, and they find a way, or somehow transport it from that world into Ravenloft. They can't escape. The only means of escape are the ones provided by the Dungeon Master, and they made it quite difficult indeed. And it's a bit like the old Patrick McGoohan show, The Prisoner, where you're stuck in a place and you just simply can't get out of. Now these adventures actually follow a certain idea, a campaign idea, which is to follow the scrolls of Hyksos. And these scrolls have verses which are broken up and put into individual models, so they're supposed to foretell or warn of a crisis happening in Ravenloft sometime in the future, and it's up to the playing characters to fit the pieces together and discover what that crisis is. The scroll is actually talked about in this model in a little bit more depth than some of the other ones that you see in the line. Now, insofar as the event is concerned, you're basically sent into a place called Sarania, which is a swamp area and one of the islands of terror out there in the domain of Ravenloft. Because Ravenloft is split up into lands. The lands have their own Dark Lord, and surrounding the main core of Ravenloft are all these different islands, and this is one of them. They don't actually meet or see or hear about the Dark Lord that rules this particular domain, but you come across some of the creatures which give you some sort of idea what kind of a thing the Dark Lord actually is. Now, as I said, it's in a place called Sarania, and basically the plot is that somebody's the family, the Tarascon family, at least one of the Tarascon family, discover that the scroll, which I talked about just now, has lines in there which will give him or her power. So he sets about trying to find the scroll, and he does. But the moment he finds it, with his brother, he's attacked by zombies. So they manage to fight the zombies off, but the fellow who found the scroll dies. So Marshall, that's his name, and he dies. His brother takes the body to the priest, who tries to raise him, but something goes wrong. Now the domain dread Ravenloft is if you seek power and you're evil, it grants you gifts, and those gifts are always the same as a curse. So in this particular case, the realm of Ravenloft has given his brother Marcel the ability to be a zombie lord. This drives his brother insane, and so at the time the characters actually get to Ravenloft and this particular domain, there's been murders going on around the village and the surrounding areas of the swamp. So it's up to them to discover exactly who, what, why, and what's going on. So not only are people disappearing, they're actually becoming zombies, and there's also a serial killer on the loose. So they have to find out who the serial killer is, and then try and work out what actually is going on. Now the details in the model are very... When you look at the model itself, as you can see from the pages that are up there now, it's not a greatly densely printed model, but there's more than enough going on each page to give you plenty of information. You read it 3 or 4 times to get the whole gist of the thing, and then you start running it. It's written in such a way that it's kind of free-flowing in ways that the Dungeon Master will react to what the players are doing, and you, based on the model itself, come up with the scenarios or ideas that allow the flow of play. And it's great for that. It's fantastically well done because it's a loose format, if you like, a loose way of doing things, which are quite appeal to me. So you characters have the adventure, and the part of the model which say things like the part one is all to do with the swamp, how they get into Ravenloft, like a mist comes up, which is typical of some of the early models at that particular time. They always get a mist which sort of swells up and covers them all, and when the mist dies away, they don't find themselves inside the mountains. They find themselves, like for example here, in the swamp. So then you have to find out what the heck, why the hell are they there and what's going on. So that's actually part of the mystery. Now the swamp setting is described really well. It gives you that idea of an oppressive, misty, all enveloping place. There's a choking fog and there's trees looming out of the swamp itself, and water's all dismal and green and greys and dark shades here and there and so on. And the branches are having claws which seem to be coming down to attack you. It's a massive amount of information on there. And they do say in the early part of the model there's going to be a big storm brewing. That makes quite an emphasis throughout the actual run of the model itself, that the storm is going to be big when you finally erupt. You usually encounter in the swamp and usual monsters like frogs, crocodiles, and you even have an encounter with the Vistani, which is kind of the gypsies, which was like a trope in the old Universal horror films, where you have the gypsy camp and the monster goes shrieking into it, causing mayhem and so on and so forth. And there's one particular film, which is Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, where the Wolfman has this gypsy woman to help him travel to this area, I think it's called, to find if he can get a cure for his werewolf disease. So these tropes are taken from the Universal film and thrown into this model, but they've recently given a little bit more detail than you would have gleaned from the films itself. They're fortune tellers and they're able to travel from one domain to another at will, which got some special powers, which is never really explained wholly, just saying that yes, they got these special powers. So they meet the gypsies, have a chat with them, and then they have the fortune told, which scared the life out of the woman reading the fortune. So when they get up in the morning, the gypsy camp is broken up and gone, and they don't know where, how, and why. Anyway, the clue was there, it's what they say about the madman in the village. So they come to several different places. They meet one of the brothers of the Marcel, who's sort of catatonic, and slowly just repeats several verses from the scroll that Marcel thought would give him power. But the verses all mixed up, and they don't make any kind of sense to the playing character. But they have to try and work out, and obviously at this stage in the model, they really don't have a clue what is going on. So eventually, then they come out of the swamp and go to Maurice de Tarascon. I think is how you pronounce it. It's kind of a French take, with a Ravenloft twist, if you like, on the language, to give this name of the village. And in the model itself, there's the breakdown of the village houses, who's in them, and what they do and how they're involved in the adventure. Then you got the usual what the villagers say, which is a true and false things. Now, in the earliest models, which was placed in, say, for example, just off the top of my head, think Pharaoh, for example, they have a rumour table there, which is true and false, and you really don't need it. It doesn't actually add or take away anything to the actual adventure in itself, so you can quite safely get rid of the rumour table in no particular model. Here, on the other hand, they do have an actual weight, because if you put the characters through the true and false things, especially in the murder mystery, because they do actually try and start tracking down and finding who is the murderer in the model itself. These true and false clues actually do help, little red herrings here and there, truths where they actually find they pass the go to the investigation, and then eventually who is the bad guy. And yes, so they got a layout of the village and the actual house descriptions. Not every one of them. I mean, some of them are blank for you to, as a dungeon master, for you to fill in. Then you follow that by the events of the model, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and so on and forth. And each time the day finishes, the storm gets worse and worse. So you get that sense for the playing characters of an kind of impending doom that is like when the storm breaks, all hell literally is going to be let loose. So a lot of the part of the model from this part of the structure, the events of the day, is actually concerned with the playing characters trying to find the madman and the murderer and picking up the clues as going along to find out exactly what happened in the background of the adventure, the start of the adventure itself with his brothers and why they became where they are. Now, that particular part of the model, it plays fast and loose with this because it depends on what the playing characters do. Because as you would rightly remember when you play in a particular adventures, they don't always go the path that you want them to. They run down the alleyway when they should be going up the stairs. They kill somebody when they should have been questioning him. All sorts of things like that. So you play fast and loose with this particular daily event thing, depending on what the characters do. And as I said, it's beautifully structured in this model for you to actually be flexible in the way you play your campaign and the way you play this adventure. And eventually, as I said, now the storm breaks and the zombies rise and start attacking the village. And so the playing characters have to defend the village itself. And they're given the final clue by the countless catatonic brother, which gives the actual location of the zombie lord. And then they can go and attack the zombie lord and then win the day. Now, there's a big problem with this model insofar as the zombie lord is concerned. Now, you go through the cemetery, meet all sorts of creatures like skeletons, rats, and so on, or explore the crypts. But when you actually come to the final big baddie, there's the problem. The model itself is just, bear with me one moment, I'm looking through the pad of the model itself, and I'm just going to tell you now that it's for levels 1 to 3. The zombie lord itself is a total party kill if you play him exactly as it is in the model, because he has an order that you roll a dice 6 when you come to the order of this monster, they could die. As simple as that. Most aimless dead. And there's some debilitating effects from the order itself as well. The zombie lord can at will kill you and turn you into a zombie to work for him. And as I said, the levels of it is quite high, and I'm just trying to go back through the pages itself to give you the stats of this little chap. Because as I said, he's too overwhelming for the actual player level. Even at 4th level, 5th level, you're going to find it difficult to actually take on this chap and beat him. Yeah. So he's level 6, 6 hit dice monster, and of course he has all the powers in there. He can attack twice per round, doing 2 to 4 points of damage each. He has an order of death which affects all beings within 30 yards of him, so you must save versus poison or suffer the effects. They become weak or they lose constitution. They are unable to act for 1 to 4 rounds and they die instantly. And it says 3 times a day this Marshal can cast animate dead to create zombies. So you can turn the playing characters into zombies if you wanted to. And say you had a party of 5, well, you can do 3 people there, so you got 5, which is only reduced to 2, and then you roll the dice 6 against the effects that he has around the living creatures. So as I said, it's a very, very overpowering guy. So I would do the effect on him, when you have walk within 30 yards from him, the playing characters get affected. But I would sort of tone it down a little bit more than what he's got here, and I would get rid of the animate dead thing as well, because the way I would do it is if somebody, the playing character dies because of whatever action he or she has done, then he has the power of bringing that back to life, well not back to life, back to an undead state as a zombie. But you can't just point at a person, kill that person, then make him into a zombie. It's a bit nasty. So I would suggest that if a person dies through his or her own actions, and bad luck on the dice roll, then fair enough, the Marshal can raise them as a zombie. So that's how I would tone down that particular adventure. But otherwise, if you get the characters at the level 1 to 3 and meet him, none of them will survive. Because not only that, he's surrounded with zombies as well. So you have to attack all of them and deal with this guy. Now, the model itself has a sort of a get-out clause. It'll thing which I found rather silly is the fact that the style changes, where you have the moon becoming red, and this distracts the zombie lord enough for the playing characters to beat them up, which is a bit of a there's an eclipse of the moon, sorry, and then right when the moon dies and the zombies all get distracted, as I said. And this is part of the scroll of high courses, that scroll that we were talking about earlier on, with the verses that depict a future, foretelling a future event. So that's a sort of a silly thing. I mean, if the characters started to feel they're going to be overwhelmed, then they can retreat and then get back, maybe buffing up their health or whatever, because you can go straight to the priest in the village, use him to give you spells of healing or scrolls of healing or what have you, then come back to the churchyard and have another go. I mean, by that time, most of the zombies will probably be vanquished and killed by the playing characters anyway, so you have a little bit of a chance against this lord of the village. And that, in a nutshell, really is the model itself. Like I said, I played a little bit fast and loose with the module and was very flexible. It couldn't go exactly as it was written down. I just sort of winged it quite a bit, using the model as a basis for the adventure itself. And they had a great time, the playing characters, purely simply because they were more concerned about the murderer, the serial killer that they found in the village, and all the clues that the serial killer left behind. So it ended up with a fantastic chase through the village where the characters tried to pursue this serial killer, and of course finding out exactly who he is, and then saying about what happened with the brothers when one of them became a zombie lord and this person became a serial killer because he was driven insane by the experience. One final thing is part of the model is gets you to go to the mansion where the brothers live and derive their income from it, and they find ghouls inside there. Now, that particular part of the model I checked out because it's pointless. It doesn't actually advance the model any-wise at all. It's just the fact that these creatures are being forced to eat flesh by one of the brothers, and therefore turned into ghouls. I mean, okay, so one of them might be nasty and all that, but it doesn't say that he or she is the serial killer or even a zombie lord. It's just chucked in there for a little bit of horror, you know. So I left that out entirely. I just said that he went to the mansion and he explored the place but didn't find anything relevant. So all the events and all the happenings were in the village itself, and that's where they were finding the clues. So that part of the model I omitted entirely. I mean, it's up to you if you want to put that in there and keep it. You might add a little bit more atmosphere to your campaign. Who's to say? Anyway, I hope you enjoy listening and my review. There'll be many more reviews of the models to come over the coming months, so be sure to look out for them. And if you want to, you can subscribe and get notice for the upcoming videos that I'll be doing. Anyway, so have a nice day and rock on.